we have the very distinguished Hong Kong and China private equity investor, the influential Victor Chu. I want to bring in First Eastern Investments. Victor, thank you very much for joining us today. What's been the mood? You've been speaking to everybody here. We have this UBS fiasco which has unfolded overnight, another rogue trader in the market. What do you think people are going to be talking about today?
I think the mood generally is quite cautious, but more cautious in Europe in particular. People are crying out for more decisive and more effective leadership in Europe, in Japan and in America. Asia is cautious, but people are still hopeful that there will be the real growth, although albeit more, hopefully more quality, lower growth rather than spectacular headline growth. But there's hope that people will cooperate. We are all in the global village together. We prosper and we fall together. So there's a need for renewed cooperation, partnership, that hopefully we can see through this particular crisis.
What role do you think China, you're an investor, you're a strategic investor, what role do you think China can play in being the white knight for the global economy?
I do think China will or can be a white knight for the world. China, first and foremost, is to make sure that its house is in order, it continues to provide real growth, and also it continues to accelerate the domestic consumption to become a more balanced economy, because that will also be a contribution to regional and global trade. And to the extent possible, China will also want to lend a helping hand to others.
What did you think when you woke up this morning and saw the UBS headlines? Here we go again?
Exactly. I think the risk management is an ongoing effort. We can never be satisfied. It's an ongoing scrutiny which we always have to look behind our shoulder.
Speaking of risk management, a big story this week which is dear to you from Hong Kong, and that was the hedge fund manager William Ackman placing a bet saying that Hong Kong will soon unpeg the Hong Kong dollar from the US dollar. He's predicting a 30% appreciation to 6 to the US dollar. You've been talking about this for a long time. What do you think? Is it how feasible is it, and how soon?
Well, the question I don't believe is if or whether, it is when and how. I think it is fair to suggest that after 28 years, where the peg has been fixed at 7.8 Hong Kong dollars to $1, the time has come for some renewed consideration to see whether the fundamentals exist then, 28 years ago, are still appropriate today. We're not talking about scrapping the peg at all. That has served Hong Kong well, and I think they'll continue to serve Hong Kong well. But we're talking about whether we can, for example, repeg the rate to a more realistic level. I think 30% will be very aggressive. I would suggest that we look at a 15 to 20%, so more or less getting the Hong Kong dollar back at parity with the RMB. Not long ago, Steve, we have when we come to China, 1 Hong Kong dollar can exchange 1.06, and we're now talking about 80.
By when do you think it's feasible?
Well, the second stage will be to give the government time to find a more sustainable solution, and that's probably go for a basket. And eventually, when the RMB becomes a free currency, we can peg against the RMB.